Using the insights from our work in education, the All podcast seeks to empower you to become your authentic self. Each episode, we will explore obstacles that we all face in this pursuit, such as the pressures of family, friends, or even ourselves. Together, we will set goals that help us express our truest selves, laying a path towards greater well-being.
I'm Josh Van Zweden, a licensed therapist and certified drug and alcohol counselor.
I am LaShawna Moyle, also a licensed mastered social worker, currently employed as a licensed therapist. So, what is authenticity? Authenticity, it is being real and true. So it is who I am with and without the glitter.
Yeah.
So the good, the bad, the ugly. Authenticity includes all of the things that I excel at, that I am proud of, but it also includes my failures, my flaws, and the areas for my needed improvement. But it took a lot to forge myself into the, I dare say it, professional that you have sitting before you now.
And it's such an honor to be sitting in LaShawna's presence as a professional and to hear her say that. You know, to me, well-being, our authenticity, I was jumping ahead to our second acronym there. Authenticity is an honest reflection of our core. It's our true self. It's that moment of true alignment between our actions, our words, and our thoughts. It aligns with our values, and it feels like harmony. It's beautiful because it holds a space for all of the pieces of us, like our flaws, our good pieces, our imperfections. It has our accomplishments within it. And I know I've experienced the opposite of this when it comes to that feeling of harmony, when everything seems like it's in unison. And let me tell you what, it was a dreadful experience. It really was. And it was one I thought I was immune to, right? I was burned out. I was suffering compassion fatigue. You know the familiar labels we talk about, especially in the helping field, right? I was in a leadership position, and I really wanted to be the best leader I could be. I was nervous about taking the position, and once I took the position, I said, you know what, I'm going to be the best that there is. I wanted to be there for the people I was leading. I wanted the program that I was leading to be the best program that it could be. And I wanted the people in the program to receive the best care and treatment possible. And that meant, to me, I needed to be available. And by available, I mean like 24/7, 365 days a week.
Gross.
By phone, right? And I had this illusion that I could do that, you know, I was available by phone, I was available by text, by email, by being present. You know, I probably could have had a telegraph come through and been receptive to the Pony Express for all I know. I wanted to be supportive, and I think a lot of people describe me as that in that role, but also at home, I have a family and a spouse, and this part lived in conflict with all this availability that I wanted to foster, right? It was always in conflict. And when my values were in conflict, and being true to myself as a male, right? I wanted to say that I could handle this all. I was a Superman. I could push it all down. I wanted to forge on. I could push through. I can figure this out. I don't need help, right? I'm not going to ask for help. And I think I had been in the field for a moment by that point, and so many times I would tell people, right, you know, just ask for help, right? And here I am, not able to do the same thing.
Help, yeah.
Yeah, right? And there was a moment, I can remember it vividly, when I recognized this. I get to my office, and I had gotten my Scooters and my everything bagel sandwich from Scooters, and it was my routine, and the coffee had extra shots of espresso in it because for some reason I was experiencing just all kinds of fatigue. I couldn't figure it out. So I just got more espresso, and that seemed to maybe fix it or maybe not, right? And it was a daily basis that I experienced the fatigue, right? So I opened my email, and I to see what the day might bring. It was pretty regular in my routine. And I was prepared for the worst, as always, right? I'm going to walk into work, and something is going to have gone off the rails. You know, some kid is going to have broken a window or something like that. And here I'm going to have a slew of emails indicating that my day is going to be hard, right? And then I'm going to take that hard day, and I'm going to take it all on, right? Because along with being available and supportive is is trying to take on the world and hold it all in, right? So I opened my first email, and it was a compliment of all things, right? And I was burned out to the max. We were leading
Way to start
through
the day.
right. We were leading through COVID, and by that time, I feel like COVID had gone on for 12 and a half years already, right? And here we are still in the world today, and I teared up, right? Because I was not ready for that, right? I was ready to battle whatever the day was going to bring. And I think at that moment, I began to realize that, ooh, something ain't right here, Josh. I need to figure something out, because I wasn't setting boundaries, right? I was not asking for guidance. I needed to do all those things. I needed to ask for guidance. I needed to ask for help. I needed to learn how to set boundaries within this role that was pretty brand new to me, right? Mm-hmm. I needed to understand, is this possible for me? Is it possible for me to have, be in a leadership position and do what I want to do? And am I in that mindset to make that happen, right? Can I do this? And really, when I was in that moment, it was the opposite of harmony, right? Nothing was aligning. No values were aligning. And I wasn't being authentic to my true self. Yeah. And it was a tough spot to be in. But it was part of that journey towards needing to do something different and change things for me. So with that being said, let's talk about our next phase, which is well-being, the next piece of that awe, well-being.
Thanks, Josh. And that was a great story. Thank you for sharing that. So what is well-being? Well-being encompasses all of the things that make me healthy, optimal, if you will. The things that, when applied, give me the best chance at being a functional human, whatever that means, right? So the whole person, my sense of well-roundedness.
Right.
My physical, mental, spiritual, social, financial, professional, familial health.
Yes.
And so for me, I walk, and I've done that for many years. I started just before I was 30. And for me, it's more than a physical piece or a physical activity. Right. It's kind of an escape for me. It gives me a space to let go of all of the roles that I have to be in and just power it out, right? I turn on my music and I just go with it. And there are so many benefits that I get from that physical activity, right? It's mental, it is spiritual, and it is the physical. And I also would like to say that it helps me in all those other areas. So right. Being a parent and as a professional, the social aspects that I deal with. So walking for me contributes to my well-being in many, many ways. Yeah,
just good self-care. And it holds a lot of space for a lot of things, right? And it's part of being well-rounded. And I think that's where what well-being is it's more than a monism, is what they call it in fancy terms, right? It's more than one thing. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of my work in my studies in positive psychology. The PERMA theory of well-being has 5 pillars associated with it. And those 5 pillars are positive emotion. We need positive emotion, right, to feel well, right? Engagement in life. So loving what we do in a sense, right? Or being really engaged in what we do. It's having positive relationships. It's having meaning for our life. We could go up to someone and say, this is the meaning for my life. This is what I want to do. I want to do therapy. I want to help people, right? And then it's the accomplishments along the way. And we've talked about that, right? And recognizing that they're accomplishments and looking at our degrees on our desk and saying we did the work. We have the degrees. We can talk about these things. So it's that what LaShawna said. It's this holistic approach, right? It involves everything like authenticity, all of ourselves, right? It's true to our core. It's all of us. And I think that's one of the things about these acronyms that we've come up with is that it's all of us, right? And it all works together. We can't have one without the other in a sense. We are holding room for feeling those negative emotions in this area too. We're processing those. We're growing from failures. We're cherishing the wins. We're savoring the positive moments. And we're being grateful for all of it, right? All those are huge, awesome processes if we can master them, or at least practice them within our roles. And it's hard, right? And like before with the burnout, I was doing all the opposite things of those, right? I was getting, a bunch of shots of, caffeinated beverages, and like I'm combating the fatigue with fake alertness, and then in turn creating more fatigue, right? So it was just a part of me that took away from my well-being, or I lost focus, right? I was focused on one thing and one thing only instead of having a holistic approach. And I think that's what we want to bring out in this acronym. And so let's move into empowerment, and let's hear LaShawna's definition.
Thanks again, Josh. So yeah, what is empowerment? So for me, it's my sense of autonomy, right? My sense of self-determination and the authority to act on it. It's owning my power, owning the space that I occupy and claiming it. So I'd like to share a story as well about my road to empowerment, which is something that a road that I will be on probably for the rest of my life. But for much of my life, and I am older than 35, I'll say, wink, wink, right? I've battled with the idea of what constituted a flattering hairstyle for myself. As a biracial woman, I feel comfortable in saying that my hair defined me for far too long. Far, far too long. My paternal grandmother, whom was African American, often told me that I had such beautiful hair and how she would be mad if my mother ever cut it off. It was often referred to as good hair. Yeah. My colleagues and even friends consistently gave me compliments when I wore my hair, my extremely hard to tame curly hair straight or flat ironed, stating that they didn't recognize who I was, they didn't know that my hair was that long, et cetera, et cetera. It was like I was a whole different person.
Just validating that piece, right?
Just because of my hair. And so I even preferred the flat iron version of myself. And I went to extremes to ensure this look. I wouldn't go to the pool or the hot tub or take bubble baths. These are things that I enjoy a great deal. But I couldn't even enjoy a hot summer day because of the humidity, right? If I went outside, my hair curled up and it turned into this frizzy mess, and it looked like I had an afro, and oh my gosh, God forbid that my hair would turn into this frizzy mess, right? So over time, I began to ask myself, what's wrong with an afro? What's wrong with my hair, right? What's wrong with curly? What's wrong with me? Who am I?
Oh, that what's wrong with me piece.
Yeah, it got pretty heavy, right?
Yeah.
All from this hair, right?
Right.
It's often referred to as curly hair as kinky or nappy or however we want to frame that, right? But none of those terms are terribly desirable. And so if you look at it, that's kind of what I was telling myself, right? These are things I had internalized. Right. And so again, I was told by countless others, don't cut your hair, right? That I would regret it, that I would hate it, that it would be difficult for me to manage. The truth was I was having a whole heck of a time managing it the way it was. And so after arguing with myself for the last time, I just woke up one morning and I decided that if my trusted hair person would agree to cut it, that I was going to go for it. I didn't tell anybody. I just kind of snuck out of the house and I went for it. And I did it. I cut it off. I cut my own hair off. Cut it off. And my hair was down the middle of my back, and I cut it all the way up above my ears into a pixie cut. So pretty drastic. And it was the most empowering thing I've ever done.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's hair.
And it's hair.
It's an accessory, right? I gave it so much power. But then the act of removing it and seeing myself for this person that I am without my hair defining me has been one of the most empowering things I have ever done. And so, I am more defined by that action itself, being able to claim that space in my power than I ever was by my hair.
Yeah, just taking that a haircut, right, to transition from not the beauty transitioning into things I don't have, right, that negative self-talk, to cutting the hair off and saying I'm empowered to be who I am, be okay with my cultural roots in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And just be me. That's empowering. Wow. Thanks for sharing. So to me, empowerment is having little struggle with personal accountability, right? It's a different approach to this. It gives us the ability to be accountable and stay in the action. It's crafting an environment where we can do this, where people support us where we are and as who we are. It's an area where you feel able to advocate for yourself and others. And it's contagious, right? Just like LaShawna's story, it's contagious, right? If she can do it, I can do it. And it has this piece of alignment with us that helps us be our true self. And when we gain confidence in that, boy, that's powerful, right? It leads us into our goals. And we will be checking in on this in our podcast, of course, too. And LaShawna is going to share her goals first, and then I'll share my goals and kind of the whys behind our goals. And we'll go from there. So, LaShawna.
So goals, Joshua, how difficult, right? How to pick a place to work on yourself and to get better. But I've done that. So I'd like to share that with you. So I want to read more. And I'm going to be pretty specific about that. I will be reading more from now, and actually started over this past weekend into June. And that's going to be measured by the number of books that I read over that amount of time.
For sure.
So I'm not going to read tawdry romance novels, though. I know, darn it, right? Those are some of my favorites, right? But instead, I'm going to read for self-improvement, the continued formation of a growth mindset for myself. It's just a place that I'm at in my life, and so that's what I want to focus on. I'm going to choose literature that applies to myself as a mother. My roles are constantly changing as a mother. My children are no longer babies, and that is sometimes very hard for me to deal with.
A role transition. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Learning
Yes.
what that means, right? And to myself as a woman of color, right? I touched on that, a biracial woman. Going to apply literature that to myself as an empowered, outspoken, independent, and educated woman as well. Those are sometimes difficult areas to be. And to myself as a professional, as a therapist, like I spoke to at the beginning, and as a social worker. I'm also an advocate, and I would like to continue to advocate for myself, others, etc. And finally, finding literature, reading literature to apply to myself as a human being, right? The human condition. What does that mean?
Right.
And where do we find ourselves? Because we are part of the human condition. And so there are a little bit more than 15 weeks left in this current spring semester for college students. And so that's what I'm going to kind of use. And I'm going to hope to read at least 8 books. I'm hoping that's not too lofty a goal, but with all the other things I'm juggling, I hope that is a goal I can reach.
Yeah. So about, what is that? A book every 2 weeks, I think.
That's what I was thinking. I'm hoping maybe that I can swing that. Right. So
and no murder mystery.
No murder mystery.
Okay.
Even though I love those too. I am a Clue person and a Murder, She Wrote. So those aren't empowering. Maybe not. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. It sounds very actionable. A book every 2 weeks, for sure.
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I also want to assert myself more. I will be asserting myself from now until June as well. And that's going to be measured by many things. So my attire, advocacy for myself and for others, and setting boundaries. I don't always do a very good job of that. So I'm going to keep note of my assertion, if you will, activities in a daily planner that I have. And I am starting today. So today I am asserting myself by what I'm wearing, by my attire. And this attire, I believe, it signifies a professional and confident look to me. And so what I'm wearing is referred to as a pencil skirt, if you will. It's form-fitting, yet it falls just below my knee. And so I paired this form-fitting turtleneck and trendy blazer-style jacket with it, right? And I even am wearing my Converse tennis shoes to finish it off,
completing
right?
the look, yes.
Absolutely.
And rocking it. Part of you, yes.
It is. It's who I am. It is my authentic self.
Absolutely.
And I find this attire assertive because of the femininity I believe it portrays, which is a side of myself that I believe is important. And it's part of how I express myself as an individual. I also believe it is assertive because I second-guessed my second guesses about wearing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like
couldn't bring myself to do it, right?
Right. It's kind of like being anxious about your anxiety, right?
Absolutely. What are people going to think? Are they going to say anything, right? All that stuff that I really shouldn't be worrying about when I'm getting dressed in the morning. So therefore, my attire today is representative of bravery to me, which is indicative of confidence, which is another area that I need to work on, right? So 2 birds in 1 stone. But the final note I'm going to say about my assertion goal and what I'm wearing today is Wear the dang outfit. Wear it wherever you are, wherever you're going. You only live once. And you look good in it.
That's right. And tell yourself that. I heard once that if you give yourself a high five in the mirror, it lifts your confidence. It boosts your mood just because it's using those muscles. It's kind of like smiling, right? It boosts your mood just a little bit.
I should have tried that one. I didn't do the high five this morning.
Right.
Next time.
I think there's even a book called The High Five Habit or something like that. So because it works. It uses those muscles. It reminds our brain that, hey, this is what we need to do, right? So reminding ourselves that we can do this is highly important. So my goals are going to be walking me back to well-being, I think, is what I like to characterize them as, right? So burnout is hard on people, me included, and I don't often talk about that out loud, right? Because I have a lot of things that I don't want to, bear. I don't want to appear weak and things like that. But sometimes in letting go of weakness, we can become stronger, right? And I taught many a client that, right? When I worked through the 12 steps in a 12-step program with my clients, and when I worked with addiction, that was step one. It made me more powerless to be stronger. And that paradox was hard to grasp for a lot of clients and apparently for me as well.
Fantastic. That is a fantastic point.
So my first goal is I will be exercising and eating healthy by June as measured by weekly frequency of eating and exercise habits, right? So healthy habits. My first objective is to be eating a healthy balance of vegetables, fruits, and grains and proteins. So my first intervention that I'm going to prescribe to myself, if you will, or ascribe to myself, is I will make a healthy breakfast 5 days a week by March 1st. And again, I'm starting today. I'm starting these things today. We've agreed that when we're going to start this, we're going to start this together.
Hitting it hard.
And, hit it hard, right? Sometimes I use the slogan, just be a Nike representative and just do it, right? I'm going to be packing a healthy lunch 5 days a week by March 1st as well as one of the next intervention. My second objective is to be exercising regularly. So my first step in that is to exercise 3 days a week for 30 minutes or more by March 1st is the plan. And again, the why here, if we think about all the unhealthy things that I like to do, I always joke with, I used to joke with colleagues and coworkers, and I don't know if I have with LaShawna, that sometimes I could rename my emotions like sadness and anxiety and anger into like onion rings, cheese balls, and chips, and whatever else you may see, because that's what I did. Yeah, right. So my feelings are delicious, and
they are indeed.
Let's take a different approach to this, right? So, and then also another thing, this summer, went for a well visit at my doctor and discovered I had high blood pressure, like dangerously high blood pressure, and probably a lot related to sort of being in this listening career, right? So we're more stagnant, we're not moving, so needed to move around more and just eat healthier. And I'm kind of one of those wake-up calls. We get those wake-up calls frequently throughout life, and
we do.
We can grasp them and let's do something, right? And I'm glad I have LaShawna on my heels here to motivate me and keep me empowered and moving forward. So second goal is going to be practicing mindful breathing techniques on a daily basis by June as well. So mindful breathing is one of those things that we teach clients almost on a daily basis. And I'm not so good at it. I have a lot of intrusive thoughts that come in, and I know those slow down if we practice. So that's one of the things that I want to be doing. And I'm hoping that I can be practicing mindful breathing 10 minutes, 3 days per week by March 1st. So I'm hoping to do that right away in the morning when I get into work, then emails, and then move forward through the day of helping folks heal. And we can do that the best when we're our authentic, true selves. So I think it's something we both strive to do every day, and that's why we're doing this, and that's why this podcast means so much to us, is we're going to help people.
We are. And we're going to help each other and ourselves.
That's right.
There you go.
So that's all for today. Join us next week as we discuss the nuances of therapy and asking for help. And this is Josh.
And LaShawna.
Stay authentic, well, and empowered.